The darkness in the mirror. Daniel was passionate about collecting antiques. He often traveled far and wide to find unique items. And one day, while stepping into a small antique shop hidden in a secluded alley, he discovered a large mirror with a wooden frame intricately carved with bizarre patterns. The mirror looked old, its surface slightly blurred but still reflecting images clearly. When Daniel asked about it, the shop owner, a frail old man with deep-set eyes, stared at him for a long moment before speaking in a hoarse voice. "Are you sure? This mirror used to belong to someone who disappeared years ago." Daniel chuckled, dismissing the eerie warning. He paid for the mirror and brought it home, placing it in his bedroom. But from that night on, strange things began to happen. At first, Daniel felt uneasy every time he looked into the mirror. His reflection seemed to lag slightly, just a tiny delay, but noticeable enough to send chills down his spine. When he raised his hand, the figure in the mirror did the same, but just a fraction of a second too late. Then came the nightmares. Daniel dreamed of standing before the mirror, but instead of seeing his own reflection, he saw someone else, a distorted face, deep hollow eyes, and a grin stretching unnaturally wide. One night, Daniel woke up abruptly, feeling as though he was being watched. He turned toward the mirror. In the dim glow of the streetlights filtering into his room, he saw that his reflection was no longer him. It was something else. A tall, thin figure with hollow black eyes and a twisted grin. Panicked, Daniel spun around, but behind him, there was nothing. He turned back to the mirror, and this time the figure in the reflection had moved closer, so close that it seemed to be just a breath away. Suddenly, the figure in the mirror lifted a hand and knocked on the glass from the inside. "Knock, knock, knock," Daniel screamed, turned on the light, and threw a cloth over the mirror. His breath came in ragged gasps, his heart pounding wildly. But even with the mirror covered, he could still hear the faint whispering from behind the fabric. "Don't turn your back. I've waited too long." Then all at once the room fell silent. No wind, no whispers, only an eerie, absolute stillness. Daniel slowly lifted his foot, intending to run out of the room. But just as his hand touched the doorknob, a voice whispered directly behind him, "Where do you think you're going?" Daniel froze, his breath caught in his throat. That was not his voice. Slowly he turned around. The cloth had slipped from the mirror at some point, and the reflection staring back at him was no longer his own. Daniel saw himself in the mirror, but something was terribly wrong. The eyes were entirely black, devoid of any whites. The mouth stretched into an unnervingly wide grin, and then Daniel realized his reflection was no longer mimicking his movements. It was moving on its own. His heartbeat thundered in his ears. He stepped back, but in the mirror, Daniel remained still, staring at him with hollow black eyes. Then, it raised a hand and pressed a pale, ghostly palm against the glass. "It's my turn now." Before Daniel could react, an invisible force yanked him forward. He screamed, trying to hold onto the edge of the bed, but the mirror's pull was too strong. Within seconds, it swallowed him whole, and just like that, the room returned to silence. The mirror stood there looking completely ordinary, as if nothing had happened. Inside the mirror, Daniel stood frozen in terror. He banged against the glass, screaming for help, but no one could hear him. Outside, the imposter, Daniel's doppelganger, stretched, took a deep breath, and smiled as if he had just woken up from a long, satisfying sleep. He stepped out of the room, leaving the mirror reflecting only one trapped, desperate soul, and with a quiet click, the bedroom door slowly closed.